The night was calm, until the sky cracked open like shattered glass. In the shadow of the Rocky Mountains, Coulter was used to quiet nights. He was no hero, just a mechanic with a half-broken bike and a knack for sarcasm. But everything changed when a blinding white arc tore across the stars and crashed into the pines near his cabin. He wasn't the type to investigate meteor strikes, but curiosity, and maybe fate, pushed him toward the wreckage. There, glowing and unconscious, was a woman. Not human, not even close. Her skin shimmered like amethyst in moonlight. Her silver hair spilled across scorched earth. Her chest barely rose and fell, but she was alive. He had no idea she would turn his life upside down. He had no idea he would fall for her, and he definitely had no idea she would carry his child. But that night, as Coulter knelt beside a woman who shouldn't exist, the first spark of something eternal flickered. Not war, not conquest, but something even more dangerous. Love. Coulter Blake was the kind of guy who laughed in the face of seriousness. His life was simple. Fix bikes, eat cold pizza, and keep people at arm's length. He didn't ask for much from the world, and the world didn't expect much from him either. That's what made her so impossible. It happened in late September. The air was crisp, and the stars were unusually clear. He was lying on the hood of his beat-up truck, sipping flat soda and watching satellites crawl across the sky. Then, something different sliced through the dark. Bright, violent, alive. It wasn't a satellite. It wasn't a plane. It was a crash. And it was close. At first, he thought it might be a drone or maybe military tech gone wrong. But when he reached the crash site, what he found was far beyond any sci-fi fantasy he had ever joked about. The woman, if that's even what she was, looked like a goddess sculpted from starlight and frost. Her skin glowed faint violet. Her eyes, when they flickered open, held galaxies in them. She didn't speak at first, but her gaze said more than any language. He carried her to the cabin, unsure if he was saving a stranger or abducting a visitor from another world. Either way, he couldn't leave her out there. She woke up furious, naturally. "What species are you?" she demanded, her voice melodic and sharp. Coulter blinked. Human? What species are you?" She rolled her eyes. "Figures. Primitive." That's how their connection began, with insults and injuries. She said her name was Alexa, and she came from a place Coulter couldn't pronounce. A star system light years away, where war had torn her people apart. She had escaped. Barely. At first, he didn't believe her. Who would? But then she started floating off the couch mid-argument. She made his broken phone flicker back to life with a touch. She spoke to the radio without touching it. She wasn't lying. He should have been terrified. Instead, he was fascinated. Alexa, for all her sharp edges and pride, didn't understand Earth. She didn't know how to open cans or how sarcasm worked. She asked awkward questions. She made even more awkward jokes. And somehow they laughed. A lot. Laughter turned to long conversations under stars. Conversations turned into trust. Trust. Into something neither of them expected. A connection so deep it crossed worlds. But as their bond grew stronger, something darker stirred in the distance. Alexa's presence hadn't gone unnoticed. The beings that hunted her were relentless. And the secret they would soon discover, the life growing inside her, would change everything. This wasn't just a story about visitors from the stars. This was the beginning of something that could reshape both their worlds. Coulter woke before dawn, surprised to find Alexa already outside, ankle-deep in dew, whispering to the faintest trace of moonlight. Her violet skin shimmered like wet stone as metallic symbols drifted from her fingertips, breaking apart in the air and dissolving once they carried whatever message she'd sent to the night sky. He watched quietly, equal parts awe and alarm, until she noticed him and let the sigils fade. No apology, only a flat statement. She'd contacted no one. She was checking that no one had contacted her. That single sentence pried open the door to truths she'd kept bricked behind sarcasm. They returned indoors, and Coulter stoked the stove, buying time to push down his growing fear. When heat began rippling through the cabin, Alexa spoke without prompting. My world was once a council of 9 moons, she said, voice low. Harmony held for an epoch, until one, Kedrix, decided unity was a cage. They rebelled, armed their scientists, rewrote biology itself. I belonged to the faction that still believed in concord. Her eyes flicked to Coulter, as if to judge whether the alien idea of concord meant anything to a solitary Earth mechanic. He simply nodded for her to go on. She described laboratories bobbing in orbit, glass beehives full of children engineered for conquest. She showed him, by holding her palm inches from a steel wrench, how she could bend molecules away from each other, turning rigid metal to viscous thread. That was her faction's gift. The manipulation of structure, born from harmony with matter itself. Kedrix wanted that gift weaponized. Her refusal had marked her a traitor to the rebels and a rogue to her own frightened Senate. The ship that crashed behind Coulter's cabin, she revealed, was not merely damaged. It had been torn from hypershift when she sabotaged a tracker, choosing unpredictable atmospheric entry over certain capture. Coulter listened while snowmelt dripped from the roof. The danger felt suddenly larger than the cabin, larger than his whole valley. Yet fear didn't tighten his throat as much as admiration. She'd chosen freedom over certainty. He got it. After all, he'd traded a promising engineering scholarship for evenings tinkering on battered Harleys because the scholarship felt like a straitjacket. Now he found himself beside someone who had risked interstellar exile rather than surrender her conscience. First things first, he said, breaking the silence. We need coffee. And you need clothes that won't scream cosmic royalty. She followed him to town at dawn's first amber sweep. On the road, she practiced maintaining a faint lilac undertone instead of her natural amethyst glow, compressing the light her cells emitted. It exhausted her, but by the time they reached the thrift store she passed for eccentric rather than extraterrestrial. Inside, she pawed at denim with the wonder of an anthropologist. Coulter smirked when she tried a beanie backward and declared herself camouflaged. She countered the grin with a lofty, "Your culture's textiles are primitive yet charming." He called her Highness. She called him Grease Goblin. They laughed, loud enough that the cashier shook her head yet smiled. Just another couple teasing each other at sunrise. The laughter hit a pulse of gravity. Alexa's powers drew energy, and the longer she masked her glow, the more drained she became. By midday, she slumped against a gas station freezer while Coulter paid for sandwiches. He noticed her pupils dilate to spiraling galaxies. Outside, he pressed water into her hands. Can't keep the glamour up forever, he said. She managed half a grin. You learn fast, Grease Goblin. Back in the valley, Coulter converted part of his garage into what he called alien R&D. Alexa reversed his jigsaw, making spinning teeth hum backward so they cut through scrap without friction. She taught him that music, specifically sustained chord progressions, helped her stabilize after energy use. So he blasted blues on century-old speakers while she calibrated the broken comm disc he'd scavenged from her wreck. Each chord filled the room with warmth and, somehow, her gentle ultraviolet pulse. Over nights crowded with solder smoke and inside jokes, proximity became magnetism. Yet every time their shoulders brushed, Alexa stiffened, mapping invisible boundaries. Biological incompatibility, she said. Her people's genetic code carried variables that could overwhelm human cells. Coulter swallowed a protest, burying the inexplicable ache of that word, incompatibility. She wasn't pushing him away. She was protecting him. Still, closeness thrummed between them like static trying to arc. One stormy evening, lightning broke the ridge, ripping open power lines. Town lights died. The only illumination came from Alexa's skin as she stood in the doorway, silver rain plastering her borrowed flannel to her frame. She whispered a phrase in her language, urging the charged air to settle. The storm obeyed, or maybe yielded, and thunder stumbled away across the peaks. Coulter stared, damp hair plastered to his forehead, heart racing. You just hushed a storm, he breathed. I asked politely, she replied, voice trembling. Not with fear but raw fatigue. She collapsed and he caught her. Her pulse beat irregularly. He carried her to the couch, every instinct screaming to call an ambulance. But she clutched his wrist. No hospitals. So he stayed, wiping rain from her face, humming off-key blues until her breath steadied. When her eyes finally opened, galaxies spinning slower now, they said what her lips did not, gratitude edged with something perilously like longing. Days blurred. She learned to cook pasta, burning 3 pots before perfecting al dente. He built a Faraday cage around the garage, convinced it might block whatever scanners her pursuers used. She snuck into town libraries at night, devouring mythology and laughing that Earth legends miscategorized half her people as gods. He taught her how to skip stones. She taught him how to coax seeds to sprout faster by singing vibrations into soil. Their worlds braided together, root by unexpected root. Then came the hum. A subsonic tremor rippled through the valley one dawn, rattling Coulter awake. Alexa woke already standing, face bleached of color. Tracker drones, she said. Kedrix tech. Tiny orbs would be mapping terrain, sniffing for her energy signature. If they found a match, a hunter frigate wouldn't be far behind. Coulter's stomach turned ice. He suggested fleeing in the truck. She shook her head. Gasoline engines were beacons. Her glow alone could paint targets across counties. He refused paralysis, pulling blueprints from his crowded workbench. He proposed rerouting the wreck's still-functional reactor coil into a pulse bomb that could fry the drone sensors, if they got it close enough. Alexa analyzed trajectories on a cracked laptop, fingers flicking too fast for human sight. They would need to haul the reactor to a ridge 3 miles away, within the hour. Coulter ran outside, hitched the coil onto a rusted trailer, clipped it to his motorcycle, and tossed Alexa a welding helmet for disguise. The race up forest trails felt apocalyptic. Dawn fog, treacherous mud, and the low growl of invisible machinery overhead. At the ridge, Alexa wove energy around the coil, shaping a resonance pattern. Her voice layered harmonics that made Coulter's bones sizzle. He jammed a crowbar into the fail-safe lever when it jammed, shredding his palms. The coil pulsed. Silence swallowed the sky. Drones blinked out like dying fireflies. Victory tasted metallic. Alexa sagged, and Coulter yanked off her helmet, seeing lines of light crack across her cheeks, signs of cellular overload. Without thinking, he pressed his forehead to hers, grounding her. Calm washed through his nerve endings, as if their bodies tuned each other. Moments stretched. Time forgot to tick. Her glow dimmed to soft lilac. She pulled back, tears bright as mercury. "You shouldn't have done that," she whispered. He answered, "I couldn't not." Back at the cabin, Alexa ran tests on herself using jury-rigged scanners. Coulter hovered, bandages taped haphazardly on his hands. Finally, she spoke, voice fragile. "Your biofield, synchronized with mine, shouldn't be possible, unless our genetics aren't as incompatible as we believed." Her gaze slid to a vial of her blood glowing pale rose. "There is risk, Coulter. A union could unlock abilities in you, harm me, harm any offspring. Yet biology is writing its own equation." The word offspring shattered his composure, yet he felt no fear, only wonder. He stepped closer. "Equations can solve, not just destroy." She gave a rueful laugh, brushing a thumb across his knuckles. "You still smell like engine grease." He leaned in. "You still act like royalty." Their lips almost met. She halted millimeters away, trembling. "If we cross this line, we can't uncross it." He inhaled the cold scent of rain still tangled in her hair. "Then let's make sure we're running toward something worth it." Outside, night reclaimed the valley. Above the clouds, somewhere beyond human hopes, a Kedrix fleet might already be calculating jump coordinates. Inside the cabin, 2 unlikely allies stood on the threshold of love powerful enough to rewrite empires, or bury them. Coulter reached for the light switch, but Alexa's skin brightened, filling the room with gentle radiance. For the first time since she fell from the sky, she chose not to hide. And in that quiet, luminous hush, the universe seemed to pause, awaiting their next move. Dawn brought glassy calm, yet neither Coulter nor Alexa slept. Instead they sprawled across the cabin floor, shoulder to shoulder, trading half-serious dares. Coulter challenged her to pronounce Worcestershire. She dared him to recite the 9 moons of her home system without stumbling. Laughter bounced from the rafters. But when the sun finally speared through the windows, reality shoved itself back in. They needed supplies, a larger generator, and, because Coulter was Coulter, a box of glazed donuts. He guided the motorcycle down serpent-thin roads while Alexa balanced a duffel of tools behind him. Lilac glow hidden under sunglasses and a baseball cap that read, "Nothing to see here." 5 miles from town, a cargo truck jackknifed on black ice and skidded directly into their lane. Coulter swerved too late. Steel shrieked. Tires left the ground. Time spun. In midair, Alexa yanked her helmet free, both hands flaring around them, rearranging gravity in a violet cocoon. They landed upright, unharmed. The truck driver gaped. Coulter's pulse hammered. Alexa trembled as tiny fractures spider-webbed across her skin where energy had overdrawn. He pulled her into the pines, away from phone cameras and sirens. Snow whispered around them while Alexa's breathing hitched. "I bent space-time too sharply," she gasped. "Cells? Degrading." Coulter slipped out of his jacket, wrapped her tight, then did something neither expected. He kissed her, slow, deliberate, grounding every frantic atom. Energy snapped back into place. The cracks vanished. She stared, astonished. "Your biofield anchored me again." He gave a shaky grin. "I kiss like a grounding rod. Pass it on." Her responding laugh carried relief and affection too vast for jokes to cover. They ditched the bike, hiked home cross-country, and spent the evening in candlelight because the power grid still sputtered from the storm. Coulter found himself brushing snowmelt from her lashes, marveling at the warmth beneath his calloused fingertips. She studied his face as if memorizing each freckle, then touched her forehead to his. A simple gesture, yet galaxies shifted. Their barriers dissolved, replaced by a hush thick with promise. That night, they crossed the line they'd tiptoed for weeks. No fireworks cracked overhead, only steady rain and 2 heartbeats sinking. Alexa's glow rolled across the room like moonlight spilled from overturned glass. Later, wrapped in an old quilt, she traced patterns on his chest. Constellations only she knew. Coulter whispered that he'd follow those stars anywhere. She answered in her language, syllables tasting like honey and ozone, translating only the last sentence. "You may need to." Morning brought nausea Alexa couldn't blame on adrenaline. Over the next days she tired easily, her energy cycles spiking erratically. She ran diagnostics with jury-rigged scanners and an antique pregnancy test Coulter fetched from the pharmacy, cheeks crimson but chin high. Both devices agreed. Hybrid life radiated inside her. The revelation stunned them silent. Alexa sat on the porch steps, fingers splayed over her abdomen, glow soft as dawn. Coulter knelt beside her, eyes wide yet bright with something fierce. "We'll protect our kid," he said, voice firm like fresh-forged steel. She squeezed his hand, but fear edged her smile. Galactic doctrine labeled cross-species gestation a Class 7 contagion. Both Kedrick's rebels and her own cautious Senate would view a hybrid as volatile, an unpredictable fusion of molecular talents. Capturing the child could tip a war. Eliminating it might seem safer. Earth's governments, if they learned the truth, would launch labs and warheads alike. Their remote valley no longer felt remote. They crafted contingency maps by lamplight. First priority, mobility. Coulter traded the bike to an old buddy for a rusted van with tinted windows and a battered mattress bolted to the floor. Alexa tuned the engine, weaving resonance so it ran silent on minimal fuel. Second priority, camouflage. She practiced distributing her glow into low-frequency wavelengths invisible to human eyes, though the trick left her craving salt like a desert wanderer. Coulter stocked literal gallons of sports drink. Their exodus began on a starless night. The cabin disappeared in rearview mirrors, a dark smudge. Swallowed by timber, Appalachian backroads carried them through ghost towns, roadside diners, neon motels with flickering vacancy signs. They invented new names each check-in. Alexa teased that Coulter's southern accent grew thicker every time he lied. He countered that her poker face was flawless until anyone mentioned pie. She tasted blueberry one state line, pecan the next, and declared Earth desserts a compelling reason not to conquer the planet. Between laughs, they drilled escape drills. Alexa taught him to twist microwave components into ionic scramblers. He coached her on hot wiring vehicles in 30 seconds flat. Each lesson doubled as flirtation. Sparks from stripped wires flew like fireworks. Harmonic frequencies vibrated through shared headphones, making their bones hum together. During lonely highway stretches, Coulter sang off-key rock ballads until Alexa harmonized, her voice painting chords with haunting minor undertones that made truckers on Channel 19 pause mid-sentence. Yet the hunters adapted. Outside St. Louis, traffic cameras blinked dead moments before a sleek black sedan tailed them. Alexa sensed photon distortion, Kedrick's cloaking tech. Coulter veered onto industrial streets, tires screeching over oil-slick asphalt. The sedan pursued, headlights off, engine barely a whisper. Alexa flung open the side door, hands swirling violet glyphs. She inverted the local magnetic field. Streetlights imploded in showers of sparks. Metal twisted around the sedan, crumpling it sideways into a stack of shipping containers. They didn't slow down long enough to watch flames bloom. Adrenaline faded, leaving Alexa pale. Bleeding energy while pregnant risked cellular collapse. They found refuge in an abandoned barn, straw smelling of rust and rain. Coulter massaged stiffness from her shoulders, whispering through cracked lips how unstoppable she was, how much he believed in her. She leaned into him, tears pricking. "You realize," she murmured, "our baby may inherit abilities none of us can predict." He brushed hair from her cheeks. "Then we'll teach them what you taught me. Power means protecting, not dominating." Winter strengthened. So did Alexa's glow, pulsing faintly through blankets despite her control. They avoided cities, slept in forests, sometimes, when radiance proved too bright, deep in limestone caves where her light turned walls into star maps. Coulter chalked silhouettes of rocket ships and stick-figure families beside glowing constellations. She laughed at the art, yet traced the stick baby with reverence. News trickled across radio waves. Satellites pinpointed unidentified seismic anomalies along their path. Government agencies denied involvement. Conspiracy groups posted blurred footage of a luminescent woman lifting a truck. Coulter tossed the receiver in frustration, but Alexa caught his wrist. "Information cuts both ways," she said. "The more stories circulate, the less any single authority can craft a believable narrative. Chaos buys us time." Her strategic calm steadied him. Yet time shrank. One frozen dawn in South Dakota Badlands, they woke to wind scouring sandstone, and a dropship descending, silhouetted against brittle pink sky. Kedrick's crest gleamed on the hull. 2 hunter units emerged, humanoid exosuits bristling with pulse cannons. Coulter's first reflex was to accelerate the van, but Alexa shook her head. Pregnancy locked her powers to defensive mode. High-energy attacks might endanger the baby. Running risked crossfire. He swallowed fear, counted terrain features like chess pieces, and spotted a narrow ravine 50 meters left. "Diversion," he muttered. Snatching a flare gun, he sprinted, drawing the hunter's attention. Plasma chewed earth around him. He fired the flare over a ridge. The red comet arced, crashing near an empty fuel drum Alexa had rigged days earlier with compressed propane. The resulting blast rattled cliffs, cloaking everything in dust. Alexa seized the moment. She gathered ground vibrations, channeled them upward, and collapsed a slab of sandstone between hunters and her partner. Rockfall bought a heartbeat of silence. Coulter emerged coughing, eyes wild but alive. They scrambled into the van, wheels spitting gravel. Pulse bolts streaked past, scorching the chassis. Then a roar split the air. U.S. Air National Guard fighters scrambled by local radar, locking onto the alien vessel. Kedrick's hunters lifted off, uninterested in a 3-front conflict. Coulter drove until exhaustion blurred asphalt into rivers of black glass. At a dusty turnout, he collapsed against the steering wheel. Alexa carried him to the mattress despite her rounded belly. He woke hours later, throat raw, and found her tracing swirling sigils over his bruised ribs. knitting tissue. "You saved us," she whispered. He rasped back, "We save each other. That's the deal." Miles fell behind. Months pressed forward. Alexa's pregnancy advanced faster than human norms, yet scans indicated stable development. She affectionately called their unborn child Nova, a label Coulter adopted with proud grin. They recorded messages on a battered camcorder. Advice for future emergencies, jokes about blending macaroni with photon manipulation, lullabies hummed in 2 languages. The camera's battery died more often than not, but the ritual anchored hope. One evening near the Pacific coast, an empty stretch of dunes under gold-flecked twilight, Alexa doubled over, startled, then laughed aloud. A tiny pulse had nudged her palm from inside. Coulter dropped his toolkit, kneeling to feel the flutter. Tears slipped down both faces. In that moment, warships and doctrines faded, replaced by the miracle of a heartbeat unmarred by fear. Yet across the ocean, sensors tingled. Alexa sensed them like distant thunder. She closed her eyes, reaching outward, and felt an armada setting course. Her own Senate this time, not Kedrick's, deploying diplomatic retrieval. They would claim mother and child for protection, sterilizing any Earth evidence. Neutral words hiding chains. She opened her eyes, meeting Coulter's. "My people are coming. They'll speak softly, carry bigger guns." Coulter exhaled, steady. "Then we keep moving. We find allies, maybe people who've seen the footage and still believe in us." He gestured at the shimmering horizon. "There's a whole continent full of stubborn dreamers. We'll tell them the truth. Let them decide whether stars should dictate who can love." Alexa pressed her glowing hand over his heart. "You realize this is more than rebellion now. It's revolution." He smiled, salt wind tangling his hair. "Revolutions start with 2 people refusing to back down. Looks like we're qualified." Night settled. Surf hissed against sand, mirroring cosmic static in Alexa's veins. Coulter wrapped an arm around her shoulders, feeling Nova's faint kick against his forearm. Above them, constellations wheeled, ancient firelight charting distances once believed uncrossable. Here, on a speck of blue dust, a mechanic, an alien fugitive, and a child yet unborn dared to redraw those lines. The universe, enormous and indifferent, kept spinning. But somewhere within that vastness, maybe destiny paused to watch 3 small lights blazing rebellious and bright along Earth's dark shore. The storm rolled in off the Pacific with a violence that felt personal, as if the heavens sought to drown every hiding place left to Coulter and Alexa. Sheets of rain slanted over their hastily erected tarp, hammering the old van and turning the coastal forest floor into black mud. Yet even beneath the thunder, Alexa heard it first, the unnerving hum of quantum engines slipping through atmosphere. She was 8 months along, her glow now a constant aurora beneath oversized hoodies, but fear stiffened her spine straighter than any royal posture lessons she'd once endured. Coulter killed the lantern. In the sudden dark, only Alexa's skin cast pearlescent reflections onto the van's ceiling. He touched her cheek, just once, then crawled outside to scan the sky. Lightning outlined 3 descending craft. 1 bore the angular talons of Kedrick's engineers. 2 displayed the smooth, silver crescents of the Senate, her own people. Both factions had arrived simultaneously, each claiming the right to seize the fugitive mother and the unborn hybrid that might decide an interstellar war. Chaos, she realized, was about to break its leash. "They'll triangulate on energy signatures first," Alexa whispered when Coulter ducked back in. "We need to separate. The baby's field resonates with mine, hard to mask. But yours is unique. It muddies the pattern." His jaw tightened. "You're not running while I hide. I'm not asking your permission." Her voice was soft, but unyielding. "We split, curve back toward each other later. Confusion is survival." Coulter knew better than to argue. He also knew he would never truly leave her side. He grabbed the emergency sat phone they'd hot-wired into an encrypted transceiver, then slung a pack of flares and makeshift EMP charges over his shoulder. Alexa took only a small pouch of mineral solution to stabilize her cells and the battered camcorder with their messages to Nova. Their eyes met, 1,000 silent promises in one heartbeat. Then they ran. Fog hugged the forest, diffusing her glow but not extinguishing it. She sang low, bending photons around her form until she was little more than a haze sliding between moss-laden trunks. The effort bit like frost through her veins. Ahead, roots knotted across a streambed. She leapt, slipped, caught herself on a cedar. A stab of pain rippled from her core, Nova protesting the sprint. Alexa breathed slow, coaxing calm into their shared blood, and kept moving. Coulter veered the opposite direction, leaving a deliberate trail. Boot prints, broken branches, a dropped flashlight sparking erratically. He wanted the hunters to commit resources chasing the decoy. Minutes later, the forest exploded with blue Kedrix tracking beams. Trees sizzled where lasers swept too low. Coulter hurled an EMP grenade into the glow. Circuits shrieked, and one hunter's suit collapsed, its occupant tangled in convulsing exoskeleton. Grease Goblin. 1. Intergalactic jerks. 0, he muttered, sprinting deeper. Alexa sensed the skirmish through soil vibrations. Relief mingled with terror. Every victory painted a larger target on him. She reached a cliffside overlook where breakers pounded basalt. There, to her shock, stood a Senate envoy. 6 armor-clad figures, weapons holstered in a show of restraint. Their leader removed her helmet, revealing opalescent eyes and hair braided with starlight chips. High Consul Mira, Alexa's former mentor. Daughter of Leary, Mira called over wind and surf. Your exile ends tonight. Come willingly. Your child will be safeguarded. The Senate vows neutrality. Alexa stepped forward, rain sizzling on her luminous skin. Neutrality died when you armed diplomats, she answered, gesturing to the rifles. My child isn't a bargaining chip. Nor am I. Myra's gaze softened. That child's genome could end the rebellion without bloodshed. A living conduit of both talents. Think what peace it could birth. Peace bred in captivity is just a prettier cage. Thunder boomed. Behind Mira, an explosion flared inland, Coulter's second EMP. Mira flinched. You've allied with a primitive who wields dangerously unstable interference tech. He's my partner, Alexa said, voice steel. And the father. Gasps rippled through the envoy. Protocol shattered. Rifles lifted. Alexa raised a hand, molding air pressure into a shimmering shield. Her abdomen cramped again. Nova kicked hard, feeding power into the barrier yet draining her reserves. She swallowed a moan. Far below, another craft approached the cliff base, Kedrix. They fired grappling harpoons toward the Senate line, intent on capturing the prize while their rivals hesitated. Chaos erupted. Plasma bursts, sonic concussions, rock splintering. Myra's envoy reeled. 2 soldiers fell. Alexa dropped her barrier to divert energy into a counterwave that deflected the harpoons mid-flight. Sparks rained like molten stars. Her knees buckled. She caught herself, chest heaving. Coulter tore from the tree-line, face streaked with soot, eyes blazing. He skidded beside Alexa, sliding one EMP grenade between palm and hers. Together or not at all, he murmured. She nodded, weaving her harmonic field around the device, amplifying it beyond its crude Earth design. They hurled the grenade skyward. It detonated in a sphere of violet lightning that crawled over metal surfaces within a kilometer. Senate rifles shorted, Kedrix cannons died. For one breathless span, the battlefield fell silent except for rain. Then Alexa swayed, overwhelmed. Coulter caught her but felt damp warmth on his arms. Blood glowing faint rose where cracks reopened across her skin. Nova roiled inside, distressed. Mira tossed aside her useless weapon and rushed forward, hands raised in plea. Let me help. You risk terminal phase shift. Coulter snarled. Back off. But Alexa's vision flickered. She saw not soldiers and rebels, but older truths. Mira once guided her through starlight theory, teaching compassion in power. Kedrix agents, though brutal, followed command to escape oppression. And Earth, this small, scrappy world, represented a third path, unpredictable and free. Nova would inherit all of it, wonder and war alike. Alexa realized the only chance for real safety wasn't running or fighting. It was choosing visible, undeniable existence, making secrecy impossible. Alexa, Coulter whispered, sensing her revelation. What are you thinking? She straightened, pain lancing her spine, and turned the camcorder outward, activating the record light. She pressed broadcast on the transceiver, piggybacking Earth's emergency frequencies. Myra's eyes widened. To every ear under these clouds, Alexa said, voice resonant with harmonics that cut through storm static. I am Alexa Leary, citizen of the 9 moons. This is Coulter Blake of Earth. Our child, Nova, bridges our worlds. Any force that hunts us hunts the possibility of unity. Witness us now. Lightning illuminated her silhouette, a lavender beacon beside a bruised human determined to stand. Across continents, radios crackled in living rooms, cockpits, news vans. Grainy footage showed alien and man framed by cliffs and raging seas, defying war machines. Mira hesitated, conflict carving lines in her ageless face. Protocol dictated immediate containment, yet billions now watched. Kedrick's commander barked over comms for clearance to fire, but Senate channels jammed with public queries. The delicate stalemate teetered. Then Nova kicked again, sharp, insistent. Alexa winced, recognizing. Early labor. She met Coulter's gaze. It's time. Here, he breathed. Now. Mira stepped closer, lowering her voice. Let us assist. The Senate has medward pods. Alexa shook her head. In pods, my child becomes property. On Earth, among humans, Nova is person. Coulter laid his hand atop hers, steady as bedrock. We'll get to a hospital. Public eye is our shield. He turned to Mira. Stand down the hunters. Help open corridors. Or the galaxy watches you try to snatch a laboring mother at gunpoint. Rain plastered hair across Myra's cheeks, but her stance shifted. Old affection resurfaced. She keyed her secure channel. Senate vessels. Power down weapons. Maintain perimeter only. She glared at the Kedrick's commander. Any hostile move, and you'll face unified fire and Earth defenses. Decide wisely. Kedrick's thrusters idled, furious yet uncertain without clear narrative control. Earth fighter jets screeched overhead, adding stakes. Diplomacy by visibility, Coulter had guessed right. He guided Alexa toward the van, each step carving fresh pain through her, but also resolve. Mira handed him an isotonic vial. For cellular stability, she muttered. No trackers. He nodded curt thanks. Trust had limits, yet alliances formed in crisis. Sirens wailed down coastal highway. Ambulances, state troopers, news crews. Coulter waved a flare, drawing them. As paramedics approached, awe overshadowed fear. The alien mother radiated power yet clutched her belly with purely human vulnerability. Cameras transmitted every second live. No covert snatch team could operate under that glare. Inside the ambulance, Alexa squeezed Coulter's fingers until knuckles blanched. She whispered calculations between contractions, biochemical needs, quantum fluctuations in fetal heartbeat. Paramedics listened, half understanding, but followed instructions. Fluids infused with rare electrolytes Mira provided flowed into Alexa's arm. Monitors beeped irregular rhythms no Earth algorithm recognized. Alexa translated peaks for staff, guiding them through alien obstetrics blended with human physiology. Labor stretched into night at a coastal hospital suddenly encircled by joint security. Earth military, Senate peacekeepers, Kedrick's delegates grudgingly held at press lines. Protesters and supporters mixed outside, signs reading love across stars and protect the child. News anchors speculated breathlessly. In a dim delivery suite, however, the world narrowed to 3 souls. Hours later, with a final cry that harmonized between languages, Nova emerged. Skin flushed mauve, hair pale silver, eyes opening to reveal irises that shifted from hazel to nebulous-swirled violet before settling into a warm, curious gold. The baby's first breath exhaled a faint chime, as if the air itself delighted. Coulter wept openly. Alexa, exhausted, laughed, the sound like stardust on wind chimes. She placed Nova against Coulter's chest. Tiny fingers curled into his shirt, an anchor point in a vast, waiting universe. Outside, fervor peaked. Kedrix officials demanded genetic custody. Earth diplomats argued sovereignty. Senate mediators proposed tri-party guardianship. None noticed a secondary broadcast until it flooded every channel. Footage of Nova blinking serenely, Alexa's voice narrating. This child belongs to no empire. She belongs to tomorrow. Any who seek control will find their own people standing against them, because hope needs no badge or banner, only witness. You watching now are that witness. Petitions surged online. Ambassadors scrambled. Under relentless spotlight, Kedrix withdrew overt claims, pivoting to negotiation. The Senate publicly declared non-interference, promising cultural exchange. Earth's leaders, sensing political wind, offered asylum to mother, father, and child as civilians under international protection. A tentative peace, fragile yet real, settled like dawn mist. Weeks passed. Reporters camped outside the coastal safehouse where Coulter and Alexa learned diaper logistics and lullaby physics. Mira visited, bearing star charts as children's books. Even a Kedrix envoy arrived once, humbly requesting a holograph of Nova to show dissenters that coexistence hadn't poisoned the galaxy. One evening, Coulter found Alexa on the back porch rocking Nova beneath a sky rinsed clean by rain. Ships patrolled high orbit, both Senate and Kedrix, yet kept respectful distance. Earth telescopes tracked them like wary guardians. Alexa hummed a lullaby whose notes shimmered into tiny constellations above the baby's head. Nova gurgled, swatting happily at shimmering lights. Thinking of going home? Coulter asked gently. She shook her head, hair silver in moonlight. Home is where Nova sleeps safe. That's here, for now. She glanced up. Stars, ships, infinite possibilities. But someday we'll take her to the 9 moons, and then to Earth's deserts, and to Kedrix ruins once rebuilt. We'll show her the universe that tried to claim her, and how she claimed it back by existing. Coulter pressed a kiss to Nova's brow, then to Alexa's. So we stay. We teach her engines and harmonics, pizza and photon resonance. And Worcestershire, Alexa teased. He groaned. Still can't pronounce it. She laughed, rich and bright. Nova's eyes flashed nebula gold, echoing the sound with a coo that seemed to vibrate the porch rail. Coulter felt the hum race through his bones. Familiar, grounding. The same resonance that had saved them again and again. In that shared vibration lay the truest revolution. Not armies or treaties, but a family that made galaxies draw nearer, curious and humbled. Storm clouds drifted away, revealing a sky unscarred by battle. Stars blinked above, ancient witnesses to a new chapter they had never scripted. And on the porch of a modest Earth house, 3 small lights glowed together. Steadfast beacons promising that laughter could ignite love, love could kindle hope, and hope could light a path wide enough for every species to walk, side by side, into the boundless unknown.